Hello, I'm Nathan Etherington, the Program and Community Coordinator at the Brant Historical Society. Welcome back to Season 2 of Archival Discoveries, where we open documents in the museum to learn and discover something new about Brantford's history. Thanks for joining us on our industrial history during March, and today we are going to explore G.F. Sterne. Okay, we just have one solitary envelope for G.F. Sterne. So we'll find out a little bit about the history of this company. And luckily for us, we have this booklet that they produced in 1948 for their 50th anniversary. And it gives us a good sense of how this company started and everything that they kind of evolved through up and through the wars. So we're going to flip through this booklet because there's lots of good information in it. So first of all, we see here their original little factory, which is also a house, kind of like a wood structure. Doesn't look like great beginnings for this company. So we have a photo here in the middle of G.F. Sterne, who's the founder, and then some of the Sterne offspring that are helping run the company as well, including Wilf, and we'll see him a little bit later in the book. So here they have a picture of the two plants in Brantford on Elgin and Bruce, so in the same area, so we know kind of where they were. This talks about the story of the company, and this is where I think a lot of the interesting information is. So there's quite a bit of reading here, but I'm going to read it out to you, hopefully, so that it's not so tedious. So they talk about George Francis Sterne being born in Brantford in 1852. So they came from Ireland in 1820 and started a business of painting and decorating. So that's how they've kind of come and evolved, and they're on their fourth generation of descendants at this point. So it goes on and continues to talk about his early life. He was educated in grammar schools at Brantford and then learned his trade as a tinsmith. After this, he opened a hardware store in Guelph, but that didn't go out so well. He returned to Brantford with his family and went to works in Buck Stove, another Brantford manufacturer. So apparently working at Buck Stove wasn't enough work for him to do. It talks about here in 1898, he started the manufacture of stove polish at night and then distribute it through itinerant peddlers with a horse and a small wagon. So that's how his company of stove polish starts. Him basically sitting there at night making this stuff and trying to make a cheap penny on it, essentially. So it says for a number of years, the operations were on a part-time basis. The manufacturing was done at night in an old house on Darling Street that belonged to the father of George F. Sterne and was on the original survey of Brantford. The deed shows a direct sale with 6 nations as vendors. Okay, the next section, it has a picture of the workers, some of the workers, as well as the history of the family business and the Sterne family's kind of involvement with it. So it goes on for quite some time and mentions other companies that they work with across the country. And then there's this very important note here in this big square section, and it says, as this booklet goes to press, we have suffered a grievous loss in the sudden loss of Charles Sterne while on business in Western Canada. So one of them passes away. As you would expect, this is kind of like these products smell very much so like chemicals in a laboratory. So it's no surprise that we see one of their laboratories there where they kind of are showcasing some of their products. Here it also talks about some of the products that they're making at the time. So it gives us not in 1948, now they've expanded. They're not just making this stove polish anymore. So special refractory materials, boiler feed treatments, roofing products, Bakelite protective coatings. So they're going into that kind of era. There we go. Cements, acid proof, structural supplies, caulkings, concrete floors, cement plaster, joint expansion materials. So they've expanded their products quite a bit from just stove polish. Okay, next we have some statements on letterhead from the company at various time periods, often relating to like Christmas or messages around Christmas, but not always. So this one is kind of interesting because it's 1967. It seems like they're being a bit of a Scrooge for Christmas. No company calendar this year. They're not issuing it because it costs too much. And so we're going to take that money and invest it better in our promotional materials and make more profits for the company, or more income for the company. So that's kind of interesting. Here as well, we see a Christmas one, another Christmas one. And this talks about, as a hippie friend said, 1969 was a mixed bag. So it's kind of their Christmas message going into the new year. And I want to flip through this because there's some interesting pictures in here of their products and some of the projects that they have worked on within the last year. And here we are. So they have a number of images of the company, kind of shots that in 60s, this is like expensive, probably technology, right? And so they have minimal photos, but interestingly, number 3 here, it says council chambers, Brantford City Hall, Portside concrete throughout. So that's our current council chamber before we move to the new one. But we see that these products were used in the construction of our current city hall. Okay, and then we'll move on. There's also a 1973 kind of message. This is in May, however, and they're appointing some different people to assist with the company. And finally, a notice to the shareholders in 1979. So in that first booklet, I mentioned Wilf. So there he is. It mentions here his death in 1966. But it does mention him being here in Brantford as a boy, receiving his education here. And he started when the company was established in 1898. So you think about that, he's been involved with the company for 68 years. So quite some time. We also see kind of their headquarters here. Now we have an address for them on Waterloo Street, so we know where their company was. And it says there that they bought the old coach and body facility. So that's interesting because that building, or the building that was there, it saw many different Brantford manufacturers in that same structure over the same time period. And then finally, they do an advertisement for the Expositor in 58 for their diamond anniversary. And again, this contains a lot of the information in the booklet from 1948, a lot of the same and similar information. So we learned quite a bit today about G.F. Sterne and Company. We learned that G.F. Sterne came to Brantford from Ireland very early in 1852 and was educated here, and left here for a time and came back in 1898 to work at Buck Stove Works. And if he wasn't busy enough doing that at night, he made stove polish and sold that. And that's how his entire company was formed. They went in to develop other types of products and building materials, and they were involved in the construction of our current City Hall. So join us next week on Archival Discoveries for our season finale when we talk about the Steel Company of Canada.